Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Matrix multiplication. Again, input size is n and basic of. In this case, the basic of is either the addition or the multiplication that you use to compute the Cij. Okay. And since the multiplication time is usually larger than the addition time, okay, we can safely assume that in this case, multiplication is the basic of. Okay. Exchange sort. Again, input size is n, basic of is the comparison. There is a catch here which we will discuss later. So it could be the comparison or the exchange function. But whatever is the case, whichever basic of you consider, the complexity computations do not change much. Okay. So now, question is that whether input size okay, is it usually 1? Is it always 1? Always one number? In all the previous examples, it was n. Okay. Is it always a single number? Okay. Turns out that this is not the case. For instance, when later on we will study graph algorithms, we will see that there are at least 2 different input sizes. The number of vertices in the graph as well as the number of edges in the graph. Okay. Typically, this is referred to as mod V and mod E. So, for graph algorithms, there are 2 different input sizes, the number of nodes and number of edges. And depending on the algorithm, you might need to use both of these input sizes for the complexity analysis or one of them. That depends on the algorithm. Now, there is one more catch about the input size. Okay. Recall the Fibonacci example. In this example, what is the input size? Is it n? In this case, note that this is not n, because n is the term for which you want to compute the Fibonacci value. Okay, this is not the input size. When you say fib n, here n does not refer to the size of any array or something like that. Okay, n is an individual element. Okay, n is a specific term and you want to compute that term in the Fibonacci sequence. Okay, so therefore n is not the input size in this case. So be very careful when you do certain such complexity analysis problems. So you have to be very careful about what the input size is. So here n is not the input size because it is not referring to the size of any list or array which you are going to process. This is a single individual value, okay, which you are going to use to do some computation. Okay, so then the question is, in such cases like the Fibonacci example, what is an estimate of the input size? Okay, if n is not the input size, what is an estimate of the input size? So here a reasonable estimate of the input size is the number of symbols used to represent n. Okay, so here n is not the input size, but the number of symbols that is used to represent n is the input size. So the reasonable estimate of the input size in this particular example is the number of symbols used to represent n. And as you know that in computers, everything is in terms of bits and bytes. So we can safely translate this to number of bits required to represent n. Okay, and what is the number of bits? In this case, it should be log n plus 1. Okay, so this is the number of bits that is required to represent n, number of bits or number of symbols that is required to represent n. And in this particular example, this number of symbols is an estimate of the input size and not n itself. So you should remember this. Such kind of complexity analysis you will encounter in various places, okay, where you have to be very careful about what is the input size. It might not be always the case that the input size is straightforward to see. So sometimes you need to be careful to find the correct estimate of the input size in order to do the algorithmic time complexity analysis. Okay. Similarly, the basic op, as I already said, is a set of statements one or more statements that is computed over and over in order to obtain the desired solution of a problem instance. So as I have already told you that for the different algorithms, there can be different basic ops. For instance, in the search algorithms that we have seen, the basic op is comparison. For adding elements in an array, the basic op is the computation of the sum in each step, and so on and so forth. So we'll stop here now, and in the next class, we will start with a more formal treatment of time complexity analysis. So in the last class, we have introduced ourselves to the idea of complexity analysis. And we have actually come up with a definition of complexity analysis, which is as follows. So we try to determine the number of basic ops required as a function of the input size. Okay, so this is what we basically try to do while estimating the running time complexity of an algorithm. Okay, so now depending on the problem statement, actually there can be various cases that can arise. There can be various cases of time complexity analysis. Okay, so I'll first state the different cases, and then we will take up one by one each of these case and discuss in more details. Okay, so the different cases of complexity analysis, okay, are as follows. The first one is the every case complexity. Second, worst case complexity. Third, average case complexity. And fourth, best case complexity. So depending on the problem statement, there can be various types of complexity analysis. Okay, so some of the most important ones are every case, worst case, average case, and best case complexity analysis. So we will start with the every case situation. So if you remember, in the algorithms that we looked earlier, there are some algorithms, okay, where the complexity or the running time does not only depend on n and the basic op. So it does not only depend on n and the basic of, but also on the array elements in S. So example would be the search algorithms. Examples would be the search algorithms. Why? Because in search algorithms, since x is given, okay, since x is given to us to search for, we have to compare it with each and every individual element in the list. And suppose if x matches with S1, then we need just one comparison. However, if x matches with Sn, then we need n comparisons, right? So therefore, depending on the different values in the array, the complexity or the running time complexity actually differs. Okay. However, there are some other algorithms where whatever is the value of the elements in the list, the complexity does not change. For instance, if you have to add all the elements, okay, in an array, then you have to, whatever be the value of the elements, okay, in the array, you have to scan through the whole array. Okay. So whatever be the case, you have to scan through the whole array. There is no other alternative. Similarly, if you want to do exchange sort, okay, here also you will have to scan through the whole array. There is no shortcut. Okay. So in such cases, whatever be the elements, whatever be the value of the elements in the array, you have to scan through the whole array. Okay. So these kind of cases are called, whenever you do a time complexity or running time complexity of such algorithms, this is called every case time complexity analysis. So every case means that irrespective of whatever be the value of the elements in the array, you have the same time complexity. Whatever be the value of the elements stored in the array, the time complexity does not depend on it and does not change. Okay. So this every case time complexity is usually represented by Tn. Okay. All through the course, we will represent the every case time complexity by Tn. Okay. So now let us find out the every case time complexity for some of the algorithms that we have seen so far. And this is the precise reason why we had looked into so many algorithms. As I told you, now is the time to do the time complexity or the efficiency analysis of these algorithms. The first one, every case time complexity analysis of adding the elements of an array. So whenever you do such time complexity analysis, you have to be very, very precise. By precise, I mean in all such analysis, you have to identify the basic op and write it down. Okay. So what is the basic op in this case? In this case, the basic op is the addition of an item to the item from the array to the sum variable. Okay. And what is the input size? In this case, n, that is the number of elements in S. Okay. So here, regardless of the values stored in the array, you have to make n passes, okay, to add the n elements. So therefore, regardless of the values in S, n passes required to find the sum. Therefore, in this case, Tn is straight away equal to n. Okay. Tn is straight away equal to n. This was an easy one. The next one, example 2, every case time complexity analysis for exchange sort. Basic op, the comparison of Sj with Si. Okay. Again, input size, here is n, that is the number of items in S. Now, how do we determine the running time complexity here? So we have to, in order to determine the running time complexity in this case, what exactly we have to do is to count the number of passes, okay, through the inner loop J. Okay. So in order to make an estimate of the running time complexity, we have to count the number of passes through the inner loop J. Now, how do we do this? Not so difficult. So if say n is the input size, okay, we make n minus 1 passes through the for I loop. Okay. If you look at the code, it was for I equals 1 to n minus 1. Okay. So we make n minus 1 passes through the for I loop. And in the first pass, through the for I loop, we make n minus 1 passes through the for j loop, right? In the second pass, through the for I loop, we make n minus 2 passes through the for j loop, and this continues, right? So in this way, the total number of passes, the total count of passes through the inner for j loop can be easily estimated as Tn is equal to n minus 1 plus n minus 2 plus n minus 3 plus up until 1. So this is in the first loop of I, you make n minus 1 passes through the loop j. In the second loop of I, you make n minus 2 passes through the loop j, and so on and so forth. And this is nothing but the natural number sum, which is n minus 1 into n by 2. Okay. So this is exactly the number of comparisons that you have to make in order to find the every case time complexity of the exchange sort algorithm. Now the third one, every case time complexity for matrix multiplication. Okay. Again, we have to first identify the basic op. Let us say that we assume that multiplication instruction in the innermost for loop is our basic op. Okay. Input size n, which is the number of rows and columns. Okay. So now here we will have to identify the number of passes or count the number of passes through loop for k, right? In order to obtain the running time complexity, we have to identify or count the number of passes through loop for k. So that is easy. Okay, there are n passes through loop for I. Okay, for each of these n passes, there are n passes through loop for j, and for each of these n passes, there are n passes through loop for k. That implies Tn is equal to n cross n, that is n cube. Okay, so in this way we can compute the every case time complexity of different algorithms. Now, a natural question that follows is, how do we compute the running time complexity of the search algorithms that we have seen, right? So this is an issue here, because here the complexity is going to depend on the elements present in the array. You see, the complexity is no longer agnostic to whatever elements are present in the array S. So what to do when the complexity is not agnostic to the elements present in the array? What do we do then? Okay, so do we not compute complexity? It's not the case that we will not be able to compute the complexity. However, we will not be able to compute the every case time complexity in such situations. What people typically do is to estimate the other three cases, that is the worst case, the best case, and the average case. This kind of gives us an intuition about the running time given different characteristics of the input. Okay, so let us first do the worst case analysis, taking the sequential search as an example. Okay, so typically we will assume or denote worst case time complexity using Wn. Okay, and what is worst case? Worst case is worst case is referred to as the case where the algorithm takes the maximum amount of running time. Okay. So worst case is the case where the algorithm takes the maximum amount of running time. Okay. So for any algorithm, if Tn exists, okay, that is the every case time complexity exists for that algorithm, then Wn is, can you guess? Wn should be equal to Tn. Okay, because Tn is every case, best case, worst case, average case, all cases are subsumed by the Tn. Okay, so therefore, if for any algorithm the every case complexity exists, then for that algorithm the worst case is also the every case time complexity. However, the situation is more interesting when the every case time complexity does not exist for an algorithm. Okay. So let's say we attempt to compute the worst case time complexity for sequential search. Okay. Again, let us identify the basic operation first. What is the basic operation? The comparison of an item in the array with the search term or search key X. Okay, this is the basic operation. What is the input size? Number n of elements in the array. So then, what is the worst case complexity here? So the worst case, if you observe carefully, would appear when X is either the last element in the array or is not at all present in the array, right? So if X is the last element, then you have to start from the beginning and keep on searching or comparing X with all the elements up to the n, requiring n passes, okay, in order to conclude that X is present in the array, or even if X is not present, you have to scan all the elements in the array to conclude that X is absent. Okay, so in these two cases, that is if the last element matches with X or X is absent in the array, we encounter the worst case situation, and in both these cases you require, for both the cases you require n passes. Therefore, the worst case time complexity in this case is n. Okay. However, worst case complexity is like, you know, the worst estimate of the running time, and this might not be the situation always. So can we make an estimate of what would be the situation on average? So the question is, what would be the running time on average? This is also termed as the average time complexity, and is denoted by A of n. Okay. Of course, again, if Tn exists, then An is also equal to Tn. So now, what is the basic premise of computing the average case? Okay. So we have to, in order to compute An, we have to, you know, assign probabilities to all possible inputs of size n. Okay. This is what we will have to do. Okay. So another way to describe this is that we assume that if x is present in the array, then it is equally likely to be present at any index of the array. So basically, what we are trying to say is that the probability that x is found at any position in the array is the same. There is no reason, absolutely no reason, to assume that x will be more probable in some index position of the array than the other. Okay, given that x is present in the array. If you are told that x is present in the array, then we can, without any loss of generality, assume that it is equally likely for x to be present at any index in the array, unless some prior distribution is mentioned. Okay, in general, such prior distributions, if mentioned, will change the analysis of the average case. But for the time being, we will assume that the elements could be matching x at any index position of the array. Okay. So now let us, with this premise in place, let us try to do the average case time complexity analysis. of sequential search. Basic op, comparison of an item in the array with X. Input size n, that is the number of elements in the array. Okay. So let us break this analysis into two parts. First, when X is present in the array S. So we assume that X is present in the array S, and that, assuming that without any loss of generality, that all the elements in the array are distinct. Okay, so making these two assumptions, as we said, that there is absolutely no reason to believe that X will prefer one array index location compared to the other. Okay, so therefore the probability that X is found in the kth index is equal to 1 by n, where n is the total number of elements in the array S, and the indices, as you have already seen, that is the value of k, run from 1 to n. Okay, so therefore the probability of finding the element, okay, or matching the element with X at position 1 is 1 by n. Okay, at position 2 is again 1 by n, at position 3 is again 1 by n, and so on and so forth. So then the question is, how from this observation, this simple observation, how do we compute the expected running time? So note that for k equals to 1, okay, you have to do one basic op. For k equals to 2, you have to do two basic ops, and so on and so forth. Now this you have to do with probability 1 by n. Okay, again this you have to do with probability 1 by n, and so on and so forth. Now since k can take any value, okay, from 1 through n, each with probability 1 by n, so therefore the expected running time should be one into 1 by n, that is, you have found it in the first place, therefore you did one basic op plus 2 into 1 by n. When you find it in the second place, 3 into 1, sorry, plus 3 into 1 by n, plus 4 into 1 by n, and so on and so forth up to plus n into 1 by n. And this should be equal to 1 by n into n plus 1 into n by 2, that is equal to n plus 1 by 2. So therefore, if n is the size of the array and if the search term is present in the array, then the expected number of comparisons that you have to do is n plus 1 by 2, that is roughly half. Okay. Now note that we have only partly done the complexity analysis. Now the second part is where we assume that x may not be present in the array S. So here we have two events. One is, say, with probability P, x is present in S. Therefore, with probability 1 minus P, x is not present in S, right? So now you have two such events. Okay. Now, if x is present in S, then the probability of finding it in a position is simply P by n. So you see, earlier it was 1 by n, now this has changed to P by n, because again it is equiprobable within the array elements 1 to n. Okay. However, if x is not present in S, then how many passes do we need to do? We have to scan the whole array, right? So if n is not present, sorry, if x is not present in the array S, then we have to make n passes, and this happens with probability 1 minus p. Okay. So this is the situation that describes the absence of x in S. So now again the expected running time would be composed of two parts. The first part is just like earlier, but the 1 by n gets changed to P by n. Earlier it was k into 1 by n, now it is k into P by n. This is the part where x is present in S plus n into 1 minus p, which is x is absent in S. Fine. So these are the two parts. Now if you do some algebraic manipulation on this, you get that an is equal to n into 1 minus p by 2 plus p by 2. Okay. So this is the general case. Now let's see whether our boundary condition matches or not. What is the boundary condition? The boundary condition here is that what happens when p is 1, that is x is present in S. In this case, an, which is n into 1 minus p by 2 plus p by 2, becomes n into half plus half, okay, which is n plus 1 by 2, which is exactly equal to the situation that we obtained earlier. Okay. Now, if there is a 50% probability that x is present in S, then putting p equals half, we have an is equal to 3n by 4 plus 1 by 4. So therefore, this means on average, okay, you need to search 3/4 of the array to ascertain if x is present in S. Okay. So this is the general case time complexity analysis for the sequential search. Okay. So we have done the worst case, we have done the average case. Now comes the best case. So as the name suggests, like the worst case where you are trying to find out the maximum running time, here we are interested in finding out the minimum running time. Again, if we try to estimate the best case time complexity of sequential search, then it is very easy to find. Our basic op once again is the comparison of an item in the array with x input size is n, that is the number of elements in S. So when does the best case arise? When, if this is my S, when x matches with the very first element. Okay. So you do only one comparison, just a single comparison to infer whether X is present in S or not. So a single comparison to find that X is present in S. So the best case time complexity is denoted by Bn, which in this case is equal to 1, because you have to do a single comparison to compute the best case. So out of these three, the worst case, the average case and the best case, usually algorithm analysts are interested in the worst case and average case complexities. The best case is rare and therefore is not of much interest. What is of interest is the worst case and the average case time complexity analysis. So we will stop here, and in the next class we will start with complexity function and the notion of order